I presented with symptoms to my GP, and eventually was referred to the hospital. My age and physical condition, because I was quite healthy at the time, cancer was the last thing on her mind. So it took a wee while before I was referred. But eventually I went to the hospital and was given biopsy tests and then my diagnosis a week later. The route that we chose to go down was surgery, to put in an expander to prepare yourself for reconstruction surgery once your chemotherapy and radiotherapy had been completed. So surgery was successful, whatever, expander went in, and then I more or less had a week or two to recover after my surgery, and then chemotherapy started. When I woke up from the surgery, I was expecting there to be like just a flat plane, and I was quite pleased that under all the bandages there was, still like a breast shape because the expander had been in there. I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't expecting there to be so much tubing and drainage and just all that and slowly as you start to feel better. For me, the physical limitations was one of the issues that I found really hard to deal with because I'm such an active, mobile person. There was some limitations when I came out of hospital regarding how high I could lift my arm, how much rotation I would have in my shoulder, how far I could reach. Say, for example, if I wanted to push the window open, it was fine pushing the window open, but then when I come back an hour or two later to close the window, I didn't have that ability to reach that far. Same with stacking, dishes away or whatever in the shaft. The higher up the shaft is, the less you can reach. So those sort of small issues were a bit frustrating at the time, but with my physiotherapy and constant movement, after a while, the physical ability in your surgery site, it got better. But there's the constant issue, I suppose, of your lymph system. Surgery in itself, from a physical point of view, is scary. It's very lonely. There's, especially for me, and given the age that I was, there was very few people who you could relate to you being, in your late 20s. I also found, obviously, post surgery, you're walking around and all you can see are boobs, breasts, ads for nice underwear, scantily clad women. It's almost like because it's on your mind and you're thinking about it, seems to be very prevalent all around you. I had the double whammy of, only having one breast and no hair, and not really being able to wear underwear like a bra because you had your surgery site. So there was those issues as well. I think I was in the middle of fighting this disease, so I had to get over my I suppose I had to move beyond. I wouldn't say the word get over, but I had to move beyond the physicality of how I was at that time and concentrate on getting better. It's like when you're going into surgery and you've got to sign that form that tells you all the risks. You sign it, you're aware of the risks, but you convince yourself that the risks are never going to happen to you, because that's the only way you'll go through the surgery, is because you have to be positive, because you have to think, okay, be positive, you'll get through it. And I suppose after the surgery, obviously it was very uncomfortable, you're healing, you've just had major surgery, it takes a long time for you to get your physical movement back. And you're in week 2, things are going good. Week 4, you come back for your consultation with your surgeon. They have a look at your wound style, things are going great. Second month, you're into your 8 weeks. At that stage, you're thinking, happy days, woohoo. You're doing your chemo, which is kind of crap as well, but at least your expander is in and the site's healing. You can sleep on your side, which is a luxury because you've had to sleep on your back for so many weeks. Things are looking good, and then week 12 you're like, something's not right, and you go back to the surgeon and she's like, that's gonna have to come out. I mean, I was really upset. I think more so than after the original surgery. I was so upset at that stage because the 12 weeks had been a tough 12 weeks, with your body healing and going through all the pain, because it's uncomfortable. Actually, no, that's the wrong word. It's painful. Uncomfortable doesn't even cover it. So I had managed to go through the 12 weeks and to get to the 12 weeks, and then for it to have to come out, and you're almost not even back to stage 1, but I felt I was back to stage 1 and minus some. you know, so mentally and emotionally that was quite hard for me at that stage. And I didn't expect, you know, there to be complications so far along, which was hard as well. But, you know, these things happen. It was assumed that when my expander came out, that, okay, yes, I wouldn't be able to take another expander, I would have to wait for reconstructive surgery. But it was always assumed and alluded to that the letter would arrive in the post after radiotherapy to schedule me in for a consultation for my reconstruction, because given my age, given my level of activeness, that it was assumed that, of course, I would want reconstruction. At the beginning, you know, I was concerned that I did definitely want reconstruction surgery, you know, because for not silly reasons, in my head now, silly reasons, because of the way your clothes will sit on you, because, you know, you the types of tops that you can wear. Like, for having gone through cancer diagnosis, those are all now just pointless reasons for me to have to, personally, I'm speaking from a very personal point of view, to have to go back into hospital to go through surgery, anaesthetic surgery all over again for something that may or may not work. So I'm not quite sure if an implant goes in there for a second time, whether or not my body will accept it. So for me right now, I'm open to the to meeting with the surgeon and to discussing my options, but I am slightly erring on the side of no thank you. Just say that it's taken for granted that of course you don't want reconstructive surgery. Why wouldn't you want, like, you'll have to have two breasts? Like, I mean, that's every woman has two breasts. Why we've given you the option here? Why would you not take it? And so for me, the breast issue, if you put on your prosthesis or whatever and you walk around, nobody's going to know. So it's not such a blatant siren that, you know, you've had cancer, you have cancer, or you've been unwell or whatever. Like now at the beginning, because your one side's quite uncomfortable, sometimes I couldn't wear a prosthesis and you'd have to go around and, you know, you'd wear your baggy top or a loose top or whatever. And then after a while I was like, do you know what, the only person, you're worried about what everybody else thinks as opposed to what you think. And now I don't really care. Now I go to the pool and I don't, you know, you go for a swim or whatever. You only have one breast, so what? But again, that's just my personal, where my personal journey has led me. And for other people, it is going to be completely different. It's like, you know, putting on, you know, clothes or whatever goes in there and off you go, or not. You know, some days you're just like, I can't be bothered. But, you know, after the year I've had, and after I'm sure other people in the same circumstances or whatever, you know, things are important, other things are not. It really comes down to that. I feel that probably the only option that's available to me would probably be the more intrusive surgery option, where they take muscle either from your shoulder or your stomach. If that is the only option, then definitely 100% not interested, because again, mobility is very important to me, and I'm a very active person, and that type of surgery would limit me too much physically. And so when I weigh one option up against the next, when I weigh one against the other, I'm just like, nah. So we'll see what she says about just putting in an implant. I think that it's been like 9 months, maybe 9 months, where I've only had one breast, and I'm used to it now. But I would hate for it to be the final, you know, this is a final decision, and not being able to change my mind. I suppose if that option, I know that I can change my mind, you know, maybe in another, you know, 2 or 3 years, when the memory of being in hospital and the cancer diagnosis is a little bit further away, and the prospect of going back into hospital and having surgery and having to take time out to, you know, recover from that doesn't seem such, I suppose, a daunting task. I may change my mind, but I don't think so. I don't think I will. Well, I'm sure obviously your body will recover, but limitations in terms of movement of your shoulder. When I asked the surgeon, she's talking about taking muscles from your stomach and flipping it up. I asked her, and I had to get her to explain this. So what happens to your organs and the things that your muscles are controlling and keeping in, and your stomach area and your ability to move and like whatever, you know, physically get out of bed in the morning, sit up. And I found out that by questioning her and asking her about the actual physicality of what that surgery afterwards will limit you in doing, she was telling me stuff, you know, about that, about your body's ability once your muscle has been moved from one area of your body to another area where it's not actually supposed to be, how then you function like that. And I was just like, no, not for me. It would be nice to talk to people who had like been there, done that before me, actually physically sitting down and talking to people. I mean, I did spend a lot of time obviously in company, the various organisations, you know, Macmillan Actually Cancer, Focus Cancer. There was a lot of like group classes like Pilates or coffee mornings or whatever, and you go and you meet with a lot of people who are in the process of going through their treatment, so they're, you know, chemotherapy or radiotherapy or just after surgery, and you're all kind of in the same boat. It would have been nice to perhaps have met people on the other side of the process who have had a little bit of distance in terms of time, to reflect on it, and to maybe because you're trying to make all these decisions in the middle of your treatment and in the middle of this awful experience. And so sometimes I would have liked a time out and maybe talk to somebody who's been in my shoes, you know 9 months previous or a year previous, and they have the benefit of hindsight. And I definitely think that the reasonings behind you having your surgery or not having your surgery should be for you, your reasons, not your partner's reasons, not your family's reasons, not, you know, the surgeon's reasons, not your girlfriend's reasons, whatever, your reasons. And I really, really would advise like thinking long and hard about what's motivating you to have your surgery or not have your surgery.